coming to you live from the sunburnt country. It's time for Destiny Down Under.
G'day and welcome to the 80th episode of the Destiny Down Under podcast. I'm Log Power Slave, and as always, I'm joined by none other than Mylan Games, real-time Sloth, and very special guest this week, Moonvald. But we have a whole heap to talk about. We're going to cover off on the webcomic, or at least Matt tells us he's going to, so, you know, that may or may not happen. We're going to talk about the masterwork exotic armor that was highlighted in this week's TWAB, and we're going to touch base on a whole heap of news. But before we get to that, we'll go around the grounds, and we're going to end with Moonvald, who we're going to interrogate in the typical DDU fashion.
Oh, I'm excited.
Which is very mild interrogation. But dudes, how have you been this week? What's been going on? How are we all?
Good.
Go on, Sloth. Go.
All right, I'm just going to get this out of the way.
Here we
this
go.
week has been
Straight off the bat.
Has been a thing. Before Log gets in and tries to bite with his dull teeth, is that last night my daughter dislocated my jaw while we were playing silly buggers in the lounge room, and I had to pop it back in and traumatise the poor girl. And yes, now I am wearing makeup right here to cover up a black eye that she gave me. So yes, I'm wearing makeup, Log. There.
It just makes you a true broadcasting professional if you're wearing makeup.
That's true. That's true.
If anyone saw Log last week, they would not agree with that statement.
No, I don't know. I haven't got a whole heap of negative feedback, and you know, I watched.
You should see the YouTube comments. Oh my lord!
The YouTube comments are the weirdest shit ever.
lady.
And I looked at the stats too, and I worked out where the timestamp was of exactly when I dropped the thing, and people could see it, expecting a steep decline, and there wasn't one. So, you know, I'm never doing it again, but still, at least not that I'm planning. But it was a lot of fun. But I mean, when did she get a community service award, Sloth, for kneeing you in the head? That's
She like I was saying pre-cast, is that I usually get up very, very early because I'm a insomniac idiot. And 5 o'clock in the morning, I get up and she's already in the kitchen making coffee and making me breakfast. She's like, "Dad, I made you coffee and breakfast." Like, Jason, go the hell back to sleep, please, for goodness sake. Like, I just go to bed. Just go to bed. She feels so bad.
She feels bad for kneeing you in the face and dislocating your jaw.
No wonder she can't sleep. I'm just imagining Sloth, but like when a snake tries to swallow an egg. Like, just.
It was not ideal. But outside of that, no, this week's been all right. Witcher actually this week. A lot of Witcher gameplay this week. It was really good. It's that game. I've played The Witcher 3 before, but God, it's so good. It is so good, so much fun, and then a little bit of Iron Banner and all that sort of thing as well, which has been really fun too. Matthew, what have you been up to this week?
I haven't played as much Destiny as I would have liked. We did some Escalation Protocol, which was really fun on. Was that Tuesday or Wednesday night?
Yeah,
something like
Tuesday.
that.
It was Tuesday. It was a lot of fun actually. How good was my luck? For the first time ever, RNGs has shined upon the Power Slave.
Log got
first two
the
runs,
shotgun,
two
first
shotguns.
2 runs consecutively. So I still haven't got any weapon drops. I don't know how many EPs I've done, but I mean that was my only real second sort of crack at it, like grinding it. So what? How many did we do that night? Like 5 or 6 maybe?
No,
not.
Probably, maybe 10-ish, I reckon. Maybe all up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I reckon I did a good whack with Mr. Sniperton, like, when it first sort of came out. Sloth was around then too. So, maybe I've done 20 or something EPs without...
Oh, no, you've done more than that. You've just been really unlucky. Yeah. Which is good, because I don't want you to get all the stuff.
But what I am happy about is I've almost got the full Rasputin gear, and I really like it. Like I think I'm just missing the helmet now. So I'm actually really excited to have that as my like set because it looks really cool, and I want to sort of infuse it and be running around with that, which is sort of like a new feeling with Destiny 2. There hasn't been like really many sets that I've like been excited about compared with like Destiny 1, especially when Destiny 1 like released like Age of Triumph. The nostalgic like raid gear sets, like that was
the raid gear sets in Age of Triumph. Geez, they look good. Like even the Titan, excuse me, even the Titan Dark Below set, which was probably the ugliest armor set in the history of the game and Halo.
Just a shout out to whoever designed that. Good on you.
It was horrifying. But I mean, like even that looked good with the ornaments for Age of Triumph. So the only issue that I have with the Rasputin set is the Titan looks like he's wearing skinny jeans.
It's true.
I don't do skinny jeans.
I haven't seen it.
And the legs are the only part of it I've got. And if based on that assumption, I'm gonna like look like I shop at Hot Topic or something by the time.
You do shop at Hot Topic. If last week was anything to go by, you do shop at Hot Topic.
Yeah, right. All right. I have nothing to say in my defense.
And the shader, you know, it's a really good shader too. So that was cool. Like it's still cool to like be able to grind that and walk away with something, even though I didn't walk away with a shotgun. Like I still felt like that was a good experience. I'm like, yay, I got some gear. You know, I opened the chest because I hadn't done it that week, and you know, I've got some more shaders, and it was a fun experience. Still chasing the shotgun and actually all of the weapon drops. I do think there is an issue with matchmaking. Sort of the longer it goes on, like I've found that there's been nights where like I really want to just jump in and there be people in EP and just have that choice to like grind it without sort of the rigmarole of getting together 9 people. And so I do feel for people that don't have the luxury like we do, where we've got streamers or we've got friends, or you know, we can just basically organize it very quickly through a clan. So you know, I hope there's some sort of plans to make it easier for general population.
You definitely raise a valid point with that, Matt, in that like they would be mad not to consider this as something to be doing down the line. Like we had, I'm not sure if it was before you hopped on or not, but I was talking to Sass and Ets about it, basically saying like they'd be mad if they didn't try and make some kind of like arena, you know, like a 9-man arena that you could just queue into, that if you didn't fill it, it was auto-filled. And it was basically just the same thing of darting around a space, beating high-level enemies and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, they don't even need to put an end to it. Just make it get forever harder and harder and harder. And then there'll be legends from our community that will, you know.
Dude, it's just any further.
Yeah,
let's introduce our guest, because she's sitting there just like.
No, it's fine.
No, that's, you know, we get excited. Moon, how are you? Welcome to Destiny Down Under. It's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for making the time to jump on, even though you and I both sort of were confused about what the fuck was going on, but we're here now and that's all good.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So in your own words, could you like summarize yourself? I know that's a harsh thing to ask someone to do. But
Could I summarize myself?
Yeah, just to anyone who's listening right now that hasn't encountered you before, who are you and what do you do? That is the gist of it. That's
a tough one. A lot of people may know me now as the lead manager for Planet Destiny, but other than that, I am an overly enthusiastic Warlock main, a huge nerd, and somebody who's very invested in the community, the Destiny community. So, yeah.
Good. There you go. You're
so
basically
tell us about.
I mean, it's a shame you're a warlock, mate. But yeah, no.
Well,
hey, leave her alone, you bullies. Hey.
No, come at
look,
me.
You
want to fight
wait.
this fight? We can fight this fight.
You wait until there's a raid encounter and you need a massive healing and empowering rift, and you've got the support class warlock sitting back, and you'll be begging for that healing support class, okay?
Matt, get out.
Stupid Titans.
I'm not going to support class warlock. No, that's not me. That's not
Get out. Roll ammonia. All right. Tell us about your role at Planet Destiny as lead manager. What, for people that wouldn't know what that entails, like what does that look like for you?
A lot of it is organizing the team we have. For those who don't know, Planet Destiny is made up of a bunch of people, a bunch of content creators who all kind of play a different part. We have a stream team. We have people that make YouTube videos. So I kind of make a schedule for everybody and like keep everybody aware of events that we're participating in and stuff like that. So other than that, I upload things, I make thumbnails, bits and bobs here and there, sort of maintenance.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I'm a
aspects
glorified
to
janitor among everything else. Like that's kind of how I see it. So.
No, I mean, for people that don't make content creation, there are a lot of little things that need to be done from start to finish. And you know, your thumbnails, your analytics, like your tags, your descriptions, your links, like there's your subtitles, your end cards, your annotations.
Editing
there's all this
stuff.
like stuff that needs to be done. And if you're like got a team like Planet Destiny and you've got a lot of content going out, all those little things add up, and they do impact viewership as well. So that's not an easy job to not only manage a team of people, or team of content creators, but to be sort of making sure they all meld together.
Yeah, it's a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
And it's something I really enjoy for sure. This month has been a little bit stressful, especially the past 2 weeks, getting ready for Guardian Con, seeing who's going to that in amongst our team and if we're going to be doing anything. But no, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun.
Got any? Can you reveal
We don't
anything?
have any official stuff yet. I don't know if there's going to be anything. It's pretty short notice, so hopefully next year we'll have a table and like all that.
I mean,
Some of the
flashy
hoping,
stuff.
because like,
Some of
from what Warfare
Sorry.
here with the beard and the Obi-Wan Kenobi lookalike was saying from last year is that Guardian Con is just it's not like it obviously it'd be really nice to have a table there and all that sort of thing, but it's just more to just involve yourself with the community of people that are like-minded people, if that makes sense. People who can have a conversation about the state of the game without falling to unintelligible screeching, which is good. So I hope you enjoy yourself. I really, really do. I wish Log and I both wish we were going this year. I know that for a fact.
I reckon not having a table is not necessarily a bad thing. There's something really cool about just being able to walk around Guardian Con and just bump into fans and other content creators and not be on a schedule like DCP and like the other tables and the artists. They're like tied down to a location and they've just got like kill people, right? There's something nice about just being able to go there and relax and just wander around and bump into people and have a conversation with them. Not having a table is not a bad thing. You'll be able to meet some really cool people just by wandering around.
Yeah, that is
absolutely.
an upside for sure. Mm-hmm.
So before Planet Destiny, what were you making content? Were you into streaming? Were you how did this role come about? Like, were you just really into the Destiny community? What's your backstory?
Yeah, so way back, I was an FM radio DJ. So that kind of led me into wanting to stream once I got into Destiny and stuff like that, because I had a bit of that background in broadcasting, and I was like, I kind of want to fill this void that's been left from me not DJing anymore. So I discovered Twitch, and I decided that it would be a lot of fun to play video games and share media that I enjoy with people. So I went about doing that, and through that I met so many awesome people. You all know how wonderful this community is. And a friend of mine, actually, Nem plays. I don't know if anybody knows him, but
Yep.
I made friends with him a while before the Planet Destiny thing, and I had this discussion with him one day about like, I want to do something bigger and I want to be involved in something. It was like so dramatic and so silly, but Nem was like, I got you. So he reached out to the then manager of Planet Destiny and got me on board. So that's how I got involved in the first place.
Can't argue with that at all. As like the three of us, the four of us, we're all somewhat involved in Twitch. Matt, not so much anymore since he's taken on the job of CEO of Activision.
Every time it's just add something fucking dumb.
But like it's a good, it's like not to stroke Twitch's ego or anything, but it's a good way to meet like-minded people and not have to travel vast distances and all that sort of thing. And I'm actually really glad to hear that you're having a somewhat positive experience after coming from like a radio DJ type of situation. So that's always good. That's really good to hear. It does warm my heart a wee tad, just a wee tad.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So was Destiny your like first, like what you streamed mostly on Twitch, like your first sort of gaming streaming experience, or were you playing something else?
No, it was my first. Actually, Destiny was my first console game, my first person shooter that I'd ever played, ever. So
okay.
It changed my life just like from the minute I started playing it, right? So yeah, no, it was the first thing ever.
So what, were you a PC gamer before that? Or were you just not playing games? Was this like your first what?
I was really not a gamer at all. I mean, I played
Holy
Pokemon.
Shit, man, we don't get that often. That's crazy.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, I grew up in the middle of nowhere with a parent who was kind of like, video games. So, like, I never really played anything, again, other than, like, Pokemon and Color and the GBA. But, like, yeah, so it was just kind of a long time in between that and then Destiny. So
what about Destiny grabbed you? I think this is the one thing that, like, I mean, for me, I'm a Bungie fanboy from way back. I played all the Halos and I was rusted on by that point anyway. Whatever they were making, I was in wholesale. But like for someone that came from not even really being in games at all, what about Destiny drew you in?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So by trade, I'm a visual artist, and seeing people play Destiny, like I had a friend who was really into D1. And I would watch him play it, and I was like, this is like one of the coolest looking things I have ever seen in my life. So I sat down, and he helped me make a PSN account, and the rest is history. Because I just really wanted to kind of experience the game based on the way it looked and the way it seemed to play. So, yeah.
That's like, because like, I find that so interesting because I don't think we really get many guests that come on that, I can't imagine going from like not gaming and be like, I'm going to get out of the shop. So I'm going to buy myself a PlayStation, pick up Destiny, like without having experienced or being like, in that realm before. So that's so cool that your sort of attraction to Destiny was some of the amazing sort of artwork and the visualization and some of the things that were coming from that. So was that Destiny 1 that you sort of got into it, or is that?
Yeah, it was D1. Recently? It was midway through House of Wolves. Okay. Yeah. When I first started.
I mean, I love that. I love House of Wolves and the Reef and that color palette. That's like one of my favorite sort of areas. So I'm really looking forward to the second.
From a visual standpoint, yeah, that's probably one of the prettiest areas, but story-wise, that's probably the worst part to come into Destiny TBH.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
No, I don't know if I agree with you there. I know
you don't agree with me, Matt, but when I first played it, I was just like, guns, go bang into man-mans, and I didn't know about the law or anything like that. But I didn't think much of House of Wolves. I only started getting into it when Buffett here in the top left corner of your screen actually said, "Hey, do you want to mod for a dude named Mylan Games?" I'm like,
you know why that happened? Because I was at work and he's like, "Oh, I need someone to mod." Like, here's this guy I know. There was so many ridiculous leaps of faith taken. You could have been anyone, Sloth. You could have been Ivan Milat.
I was so desperate for. I remember some of the first streams I did. Like whenever you start streaming, there's always bigger numbers than later. Like having 200 plus people in there and like not having a mod and just being like, I need a mod. I need an adult.
That's horrifying. I can't even imagine that.
You did.
manage this.
You did probably do it the hard way, Matt, where like people normally craft their trade of being able to talk to chat and all that sort of shit. You know, starting off with small view accounts and things like that and work their way up, where because of the YouTube thing, you just jump straight into it and there's like fucking... And the nature of your streams too was, you know, fire a lore question at Mylan and he'll try and answer it. So there's just this fucking wall of, you know, and then it was like, oh yeah, I'll come in and I'll try and help you by keeping track of the questions. And I did it for like an hour and a half and had a fucking migraine. Like, what? But, you know, that was...
Anyway.
There we go.
Right. Well, it's great to have you on. It's really cool to find out a bit more about how you started in Destiny, and obviously, I think people appreciate you being on board with Planet Destiny.
Yeah, sure. I try my best.
That's all we can do.
All we can ever ask. Yeah, absolutely. So,
all right, well,
Marlon,
I might play some music, and then Matt can tell us all about the comic, or maybe not. Anyway,
or maybe not.
All right, quick synopsis. Go.
Okay. Firstly, I need to like read them all together, like this comic in conjunction with the other two comics, because it's not chronological from what I see. There are some timestamps in the comic which seem to indicate like event dates, which we've never really had in Destiny, specifically like the Battle of Twilight Gap. So if you see a non-pig or you see him...
Oh my. Whoa.
If you see a non-pig sitting in a corner shaking, like, it's because he's trying to process all of this. Just leave him be. It's safe. Don't disrupt him. Just let him go.
Thunderlord. There's information like that. We do see Anna Bray fight at Twilight Gap, and obviously this is approaching the territory of probably one of the greatest complaints about the Warmind, which was Anna Bray died at Twilight Gap. How was she here, in the No Time to Explain quest line, Lakshmi 2 or Lakshmi 2? She's Anna Bray died her death, right? And, that in that storyline, you go to Twilight Gap and you see the pools of light. So we see Anna Bray, we see her firing her golden gun, which all matches up. And then they give an explanation for why we thought she was dead. She gets snuck up on by a fallen captain who takes a swing at her and damages her ghost. And in that moment, she takes the opportunity to fake her death. So the people there saw her ghost take a hit, and then she jumps off a cliff. And so, yeah, basically. Yeah. I know that sounds worse. But,
the perfect crime. The perfect crime.
Yeah, so she jumps off a cliff, and then that's meant to be the explanation for why she was dead in Twilight Gap. I think it's interesting. I wonder if this was planned since the Warmind came out, or if this was a response. I think either way, it's good that it's been acknowledged and it's taken precedence to give an answer to the community for that. There's always going to be like cynical people like, oh, well, this is just, going backtracking and retconning and part of me is really sick of that conversation about this. And this is sort of what's got me a little bit angry in general, is like people jumping the gun on stuff. And when I've always done lore videos, it's always been like an interpretation of the lore, and this is my opinion about the lore, and it's up to you to make your own opinions about the lore. And then we've sort of gone through a period where everything's like right or wrong. Important updates pending. No, please, Windows, do not restart now. Remind me later. And people are like, no, well, this is right and this is wrong and this is retconning. And then like, here's an example where there's been an explanation for a death. Now, you can argue until the cows come home if this was planned all along, or if this, was a response to the community. We're never going to know the thinking behind that. But at the end of the day, it's stayed true to what was previously written in Destiny 1 years ago by writers, we don't know who wrote that storyline. You know, there's a whole team that write different parts of Destiny. So I think it's moving in the right direction, and I hope that like lore conversations can go in a more direction of like, hey, this has been retcon until we get the full picture. Because like I know there's a whole bunch of critical videos out there like Anna Bray shouldn't be there. Well, actually, here's an explanation for it, and I think that proves that like there's some fluidity to the lore, and there should be, because writing stories is hard, right? So
yeah, and at the end of the day, like. That whole, I mean, I understand what all that sort of stuff was born of. It was born of being protective of something that people loved, right? You know, like near and dear to the heart and all that sort of stuff, and come out and sure, when it didn't look like it was all lining up and things were being retconned and changed and sort of pulling the ground out from underneath people, I understand the reaction to be angry about it. But as you say, Matt, it's definitely time now. Just fucking get on board. It's like, I read that and I was like, you know, like I've been pretty vocal about, you know, the Osiris-related ones, I was not a fan at all. This, I'm in wholesale. And if they're going to go through and put the effort into explaining, you know, whether they're things that were right or wrong or indifferent or whatever, however you feel about it, if they're setting the course straight now, who gives a shit? It's a great story. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to get time to check it out before the cast, but I managed to shoehorn a little bit in there. So I've read it quickly, and I think it's great. And I think the most important thing that we all need to know is that Zavala had Thunderlord. That's
yeah, that was an expert. That's an expert. I mean, before we keep going, do you have any input on that? Like, do you have any inputs on what are your thoughts of hearing that explanation of like Anna Bray, you know, gut reaction to that at all, Sloth or Moon?
I don't have a problem with it. I think, you know, it's an explanation. It's not, I don't know. It's not something that bothers me. I'm just happy that we're getting story on a couple different vehicles like the comics and more in game now and stuff like that. So I don't know. And I'm not super picky either. So maybe I'm the wrong person to ask.
Well, that's not true because you know the Destiny community is not just people who are lore nerds. It involves everyone, and you know the comic books aren't directed. You know, they're not only meant to be read by people who make lore videos who have read.
So you're saying my opinion's valid?
Of course it is. Is valid.
Okay.
We're saying that in this instance, you aren't the squeaky wheel that needs the oil. You are just someone who's happily going along and enjoying the content for what it is, and that's great.
And that's fine as well, right?
That's a pretty good summary of just how I enjoy the game in general. Like I rarely have complaints. Maybe that makes me a little bit, I don't know, contentious to some other people in the community, but
I think it's a nice break, to be honest, because there's other people out there who are just nothing but complaints. So you know, it does my heart good to know that there's someone out there evening the ledger. Slothy, what did you think, man? What did you think?
I'm not gonna pull the wool over anyone else. I haven't even read it.
Yeah,
I haven't even read it. I mean,
I guess my question to you is like knowing.
Oh yeah, I haven't either.
Explained like Anna Bray's death, right? Does that like go? Oh, great! Like at least the explanation. Like, do you have thoughts on that?
I mean, like I'm glad that they're starting to finally tie up some of those loose ends. Like people can theory craft and all that sort of thing, and they can build an entire story around the for lack of a better term, scraps of information that the Bungie writers have put into some of the lore. The fact that they're starting to tie up some of those scraps so people stop theory crafting. It's not that theory crafting is a bad thing, but it's like it's good to see them actually tying stuff up, which is something that, if I remember you saying, is that you wanted, or people wanted, in that vast ball of information that you took to the summit. It's something that a lot of people really wanted, is to tie up the loose ends of the story so people don't continually just get wrapped up around the axles about obviously the big one that I'm referring to is the Exo Stranger from D1. It's like people wrapped up around it, and like even now after the Forsaken DLC reveal and that little splash screen at the very end of the trailer, it could be like people have been thinking that it might be the Exo Stranger that is carrying Cade's body off.
You're talking about yourself in the third person again.
Well, it's not, but that's not. It
People.
wasn't my idea. But it wasn't. It wasn't my idea, Log. Like
Yeah, I
this,
know.
but like it wasn't my idea. It's just I spoke about it on the cast. But I'm really glad that they're starting to tie up storylines. For lack of a better term, I mean, obviously, we Dino Games in the chat has his own thoughts about Warmind and all that sort of thing, and that's okay. That's fine. Have your own thoughts about it, but for the layman Destiny player, it's for the Destiny player that likes the story, likes the gameplay, and could take or leave whether the stories tie up or not. Like someone like myself. Then it's good to see. That's my input.
Yeah, and I think that was information took this summit, and that it wasn't that it was a balance. It was a balance between giving some things resolution and leaving some things open ended, because you don't want everything to be solved, because that takes a lot of the fun out of it too.
Oh, 100%.
There needs to be some mystery, and obviously the hard decision is, which ones do we wrap up and which ones do we leave open-ended? And obviously at one point they believed that the Exo Stranger was wrapped up, and everyone's like, you didn't fucking wrap it up.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't,
right?
Like, really?
So,
I don't believe that. There's no resolution in that character. I just think that it's the shining example of Luke Smith being Luke Smith and saying something that is like incredibly. I just think that part of him just enjoys saying things that he knows people are just going to fucking flip over, which I can relate to. That's fine. Maybe not. Who knows?
But I do agree with Mr. Dino Games' comment on here, and I think this is probably an area of improvement, and the comment here is, my gut reaction is, Zavala, you saw Anna Bray die. Why did not VV have Zavala react to seeing Anna alive again? And I think we've seen lots of improvements in the lore from lore tab point of view, and accessibility and depth and the tone of Forsaken, and a lot of the additional material that surrounds sort of campaign and storylines. And I think the next sort of step looking forward is how does the in-game stuff, make sure that there's a really strong marriage between the extra lore that you read and what happens in game. And I don't think that that I agree that that's probably an area for improvement, because if Zavala did see that, the normal reaction would be, holy shit, you're not dead.
Yeah, but even the body of the comic, there's when they're in Owl Sector, and he's sort of like, there's the someone's accessing the information about Rasputin and all of that sort of stuff. He is going, oh, okay, tell me who it is. He wants the information because he suspects that she's alive. Now, the thing that they're going to have to be really careful with things like that is that you don't want to get into a situation where characters are behaving in the game in ways that people who are just playing it as a layperson, as a run through for the first time, will go, what the fuck? Like, you don't want the main character, us, the Guardian, whatever you want to, you don't want them to feel like they're left out of the loop of what's really going on. Like,
see, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that's a way to get a hook in.
Yeah, or
anyway,
if it's done the right way, I'm sure it absolutely is, Matt. I agree.
And good conversation.
You two, sorry, yeah, we can talk. We can.
Sorry,
talk.
Moon. Sorry.
No, I'm listening. Like, again, I'm so laid back and easygoing that
you're fine.
I just like to hear what everybody else has.
You're fine, mate. No, it's just that we can talk. So, yeah, if you have
the most understatement, we can talk.
If you please feel free to just say, listen, guys, shut up. Let me speak for a second, because I'm the guest and you guys are here every week. So
just be loud, because that's the way Australia works. Everything, it's like a dictatorship of volume. If you say it loudest, then you're the king.
Oh, shut the fuck up and run the news segment.
Right, hang on. Here we go. Get ready, Sloth.
We haven't finished the comic book yet.
Oh, all right. Come on, Matt. Go.
Yes,
Come on.
We have. Come on.
Okay, look. It was. Look, the other main things was that there was a destination location saying the last city, right? And it was, I don't know how to say this, Fuan Library, right? and like FU apostrophe AN, which is a place in China. So is that confirmation that the last city is in China? I don't know.
Oh my goodness. The location of the last city is one of the most.
Didn't somebody figure out that it was like in
Brazil.
Georgia, like the country Georgia, not the state Georgia, but like south of Russia?
Like,
Yeah.
Like
There's a whole bunch of stuff like around Kazakhstan and there's a bunch of references like the Caspian Seas, and then there's like previous sort of trailers that are looking at the Middle East and stuff like that. So
Well, and that would make more sense to me too because of all of the especially too if you go into the tower, there's some parts of the tower that kind of have that Middle Eastern sort of like mosaic design and stuff. You know, if you look at it really closely.
Around New Monarchy, I see that.
Mhm.
I see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Anyway, that interesting. Have a look.
I don't know how that was the thing that you caught out of that whole thing. That is how different your mind works to ours, I suppose. All I saw when I read it, I'm like, oh, that's a word I don't know how to pronounce. Moving on. Fuan.
So
Oh, you're a troll. You. I'm not paying attention to that. I know you know where it is. So I'm going to play some music and we're going to talk about something else. We're finished now, Matt. We're finished. Unless it's something really important. Are you really going to ruin the transitions?
yes,
Just okay.
it is important
I'm playing it again
because
though.
it's law, right? This
All right.
she meet Anna Bray meets Carmen. Carmen gets blown up and then goes to a med bay in Clovis Bray, and she gets like a Rasputin arm. She gets like the arm of the feedback fence kind of Titan arms when she's revived.
That's pretty rad. So are we confirming that she's a Titan?
All right, now you can.
I don't even think she's a guy. All right, okay, ready, good. Thanks, Matt. That was very thorough. I appreciate it.
Island in 3 sentences. Ladies and gentlemen, the news from this week at Bungie. Well, not as busy as what we have seen in recent weeks. There are some very big changes for Armour Masterworks for the exotic armour pieces that are, well, they're put in the T-Web. So let's get into it straight away. So for the Hunter, we have the Lucky Raspberry, probably one of the least used Hunter pieces I have ever seen in Destiny 2. Even in Destiny 1, I legitimately only saw people using it as a look good type of piece if you like wearing a cheese grater on your chest. But I mean, let's just go straight into it.
But how can we wear the Lucky Raspberries if Shiro has it?
Don't think about it. Don't bring your logic into this.
Because he'll be in the tower come September and we can fucking mug him, Matt. Just move on.
Okay.
Mug him.
Go on.
All right,
Tell us the
increased chance to recharge your arc bolt grenade on arc bolt grenade hits.
on the hits.
Grenade guarantees a recharge on getting a full chain that hits 4 targets.
Yeah.
While just about everyone could appreciate the theoretically infinite grenades Lucky Raspberry could generate, its pure random nature made so many people shy away from it. With this change, your input will now affect the outcome, so you plan your throws accordingly. So if you're a hunter, you like throwing arc bolt grenades, maybe your thing.
So now it's not Lucky Raspberry, it's like intentional raspberries.
Intentional raspberries.
Intentionally planned raspberries.
Intentional raspberries.
It's just statistically reliable raspberry. Needs to be renamed. Come on, Bungo. Jesus Christ.
Lucky Raspberry.
It's no, but there's no luck involved. It's just reliable raspberry.
Reliable raspberry.
That sounds more Tex Mechanica than anything.
That's true.
A reliable raspberry. I don't know.
Maybe they need a competing piece of armor.
Yeah.
All right, and then moving forward to the Stompies. Increased benefits while using strafe jump and triple jump. The usage rate of the Stompies in Crucible was fairly good since it mostly affected high jump. People were somewhat pigeonholed if they wanted to change up their air game. So the other double jump variants were tweaked to have more impact, which is good. Like the Stompies they're the ones, if I remember correctly, they're the ones that make you like run faster, yeah? No, wait.
Those are the Frosties.
Sorry,
aren't
the
they?
Frosties. No, no, you're right. Sorry, I don't hunt.
We
so it's
don't
fine.
have any hunters here, so.
Yeah, I don't hunt.
I'm
but, I mean,
Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
but,
watching
I
this on
mean-
YouTube, just tell us what you think, and then
Yeah,
we'll
I
read
mean,
it out next
legitimate.
week. 'Cause we have no
Yeah.
thoughts of our own.
Like the hunter stuff, we're all Titans and Warlocks here. So if you have any questions, queries, or doubtful points about the hunter changes, let us know in the Twitch chat or let us know in the YouTube comments down below.
Noreen says it was sprint and slide faster and increased double jump.
Okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
Thank
And
you.
then we've got the young Ahamkara's spine. It has removed the marking functionality, improved the trip mine grenades blast radius and throw speed, so it made your trip mine grenades. It made it so the trip mine grenades are harder to destroy rather. Solar ability now. Why can I not read today? Jesus.
Just slow
Could you
down.
just-
And probably because you got kneed in the face yesterday. So just slow down.
Quite possibly. Solar ability
Enunciate.
hits now grant some trip mine grenade energy, and the marking functionality, which, while useful in some circumstances, such as the Crucible, did not have much merit in PvE, so we removed it to head in a better direction. Now, your trip mine grenades are punchier, and you get access to them faster. I haven't seen anybody use any of those exotics for a hunter for a very long time.
When was the last time you were
change-
killed by a trip mine, man? Remember in D1, trip mines were just
trip mines
like
were-
they
Yeah,
were crazy,
sure.
man. They were crazy. You got killed by them all the time. It would be nice. I love the aesthetic of a trip mine. It's so cool to piff one and it just goes zoop, and then everyone just goes flying. I really like trip mines.
I seem to remember a friend of mine using the young Ahamkara's spine and placing a stupid amount of trip mines, and I mean an utterly stupid amount of trip mines on a wall while playing Rift, and was immediately like could kill anything in their super. I was like, fair. And when D2 rolled around, you just didn't see these anymore. So I mean, it's really good to see that Bungie have identified that these exotics are not being used and tried to make them more applicable or more
Appealing.
Thank you. Appealing to the hunter
Population.
I was going to say race, but yeah, the hunter class. So that's good. And then we get into the real class, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get into the Titan. The ACD/0 feedback fence now grants Fury Conductor stacks on melee hits instead of kills. Fury Conductor now grants stacking melee damage resistance. Oh my god. These are mostly aimed at Fury Conductors being better in PvE encounters, while that feedback fence could protect you from hordes of thrall by keeping them staggered. It just wasn't that much use against something like a Hive Knight wielding a sword. So the changes also make this exotic better in the Crucible, but the solution of just shooting opponents still works. Well, I mean,
That's going to be interesting. Be interesting to see what that resistance is like.
It's
But
one of those
stacking
things where you
melee
kind of
damage resistance. Oh my lord!
it's one
And
of
it
those
stacks,
things
so
where
stacks
you
on
read
melee
it,
hits as well.
you read it and go, if this is even remotely out of whack, it could be the most fucking OP thing imaginable. Which is great because it's a Titan thing.
You know what? I mean, I'm down with that. Hey!
We're getting to the Warlocks. Calm down.
Doomfang Pauldron's void melee kills now grant more super energy. The shield throw hits will now extend the duration of the super. And Titans have a lot of exotics that help with punching things to differentiate this one from the rest of the herd. We've increased the impact this exotic has on your super and how you use it. Now, as someone who has been using more Captain America in PvP of late, to have the top tree Captain America with these Doomfang Pauldrons on and shield throw hits now increase the duration of your super.
Yeah, so Sloth with the Titan, right? The one, because I don't even have a Titan. So one of the skill trees gives you 2 shield throws, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
you've got 2 shield throws, and on just a hit, so not a kill, as long as it hits something, it extends your duration. And the shields ricochet, right? So
Correct.
if there's like multiple mobs, you could merely one mob, throw your shield into mob 2, it ricochet, get super back, run up to that mob, wipe them, and then hopefully there's somewhere else where you can throw your shield at and you can extend it again.
Definitely more aimed at PvE, but I can see this working in PvP quite well, actually. But the fact that they've sort of... A lot of people don't like using Captain America shield. For whatever reason, that is their own. In PvE, I definitely understand that, but in PvP...
is it because the shield throw is not very powerful? Does it? I don't know. How
like,
much
I see
damage
somebody
is it?
in the comments, Yetza, Jets.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But it's because the hit registration on the shields is kind of a little bit wonky right now, and I do agree with that. Every time I play it, it just feels weird to me. So
I get you. But I mean, that's what, like, I'm seeing more feedback fences on Guardians more than I have been in the past. I have not seen a Guardian wear Doomfang pauldrons since when they first came out, when it was like, oh, shiny, new. My God, no. I mean, it's good that they, like I said, it's good that they've identified this. It's good.
It'll be interesting to see how much recharge you get from a hit, because if it's substantial, man, that it's a nice skill too. Like, it's an exotic, but it's still, to make it proc, there still needs to be a fair bit of like planning and, you know, intention to where you start using your super and what enemies you're targeting and all that kind of stuff. So like, if you can get it right it could feel really powerful.
I like them. All right, Log's favorite. Well, was Log's favorite exotic before
it's back.
picked up the.
It's back.
It's back apparently. All right. So, Dune marches reduce the time to activate linear actuators while you were sprinting to 1.5 seconds, down from 5 seconds. Increase the damage of the chain lightning effect 70% in PvP, 440% in PvE. Oh my lord. And while the lightning effect of Dune marches was novel, the time needed to start it up and its fairly low impact led players to simply seeing these as the sprint pants, so we've made the lightning much more deadly and frequent. I'm okay with that. I like the Titan exotic that I use in PvE is the what are they called, Log? The pants that make you fly better.
Lion Rampants.
Yeah, the Lion Rampants. I've been using them because like they're just fun. They're just really, really fun. But these are
Dude, I am so
440%.
So fucking excited for this. You get the opportunity to play as a giant aggressive balloon with a static charge and just run in and hit people and then give them the worst static shock imaginable. And that's me. I've always wanted to play video games as a balloon.
As a giant electrified balloon.
Or perhaps a really furry scarf.
Jesus Christ, how horrifying.
Do you guys feel like a hunt? Like, I see these kind of like exotic changes, and even though I'm not a hunter, like, I see the Titan stuff, like, that's cool. That's gonna be really cool. See the hunter stuff, like, what are you guys getting? Like,
we did have this debate last time too, hey? Like when they did the last pass of exotic armor masterworks, and we all sat here and went, geez, the hunters really got stiffed with that. But
did anyone leave comments? Are the hunters happy about this scenario? I don't know how to feel because I'm not a hunter.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
they have warm husks, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's true.
You know what?
That makes up for everything.
The worm husk just makes me want to tear out my own beard with my fingernails. Right. No, it's good to see. Now I can't remember his name, and people will probably bollocks me for this, but I can't remember his name. Is that the dude in the Forsaken Vidoc who said we want to make exotic so exotic that it breaks the game? You know what? breaks.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, like
I'm okay with it.
440%
okay.
is it definitely in the realm of fucking breaking
Dude,
stuff.
seriously, run for 1.5 seconds, punch something, zap. Run for 1.5 seconds, punch something, zap. That's fucking like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things that, right, I used it because it was sprint pants. Where now I'm looking at it going, I'd literally forgotten what the exotic perk on him really was. And now I can't wait to jump back in and have a crack with him, right?
You know, I can't wait to see a Titan just run into a pack of thrall and just, you know, thunk, and everybody just goes, like, they just all just obliterate, just literally running into it. And I think, like, it's really cool to, so, like, you have exotics, whereas as a user, there's an experience to them, so you feel powerful. What's also cool is, like, bystanders, like, watching exotics like work. Like, it's cool to see, like a Titan run into a bunch of stuff and like destroy everything. Like, okay, that was cool. He's obviously using June marches. Like, that will be cool to witness.
Oh, it's like, I mean, just as a touch point example, the first time I saw the Graviton Lance do that chain thing was I was doing the Nokris strike and helping Keg run through when he was leveling his character. It was the only exotic he had. He had that on, and he went bang, and he shot one thrall in the tunnel bit, and it just went blah, 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 and it fucking killed all of them.
It went what now?
Yeah.
Do you want to repeat that there, right there, bud?
You know, like that was exactly what it sounded like. That was you know, and like, but there was like 10 thrall, and we were both just giggling about it because, I mean, we're stupid.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where it just adds a bit of variety. You don't normally see that. It's weird. But yeah. Now, I mean, no one uses Graviton Lance for fear of being just hate messaged.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Tell that to everybody I fought in Iron Banner today.
Today.
Why does it make the whistling noise now? Can we get an answer on that?
Okay.
Is that whistling noise?
You know what, Matt? Could you speak to your underlings and figure out why they changed the sound? Why they changed the sound of the Graviton Lance? Because it sounds horrible now.
I don't like you reinforcing stupid comments like that.
If anyone takes, listen, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Real Time Sloth. I take the piss.
Yeah, we're kidding. We're kidding. We're 100% kidding. We know Matt would never be put in charge of anything important whatsoever. Ever. I mean, look at him. All right, moving on. We're getting into the Warlock stuff now. I'm going to tune out.
The Warlock stuff, tune out. It's fine. It's fine. But we've got the Crown of Tempests, the Shocklock Crown. So they've collapsed the total number of stacks of conduction times to 3 with the total same effect. And each stack of conduction times lowers the upkeep of cost of Storm Trance. I have no freaking idea what that means.
I think it's arc. Basically, like, getting arc kills is going to allow you to do Storm Trance for longer. But I'm just going to double check. It's either arc kills or it's arc hits. So let me just have a quick look what the original says, and you can go on to the next bit. Yeah.
We've got Nezarek's Sin and this exotic were quite similar, so we pushed harder for this exotic for Stormcallers who want to invest heavily on inability use. Warlocks also don't have that many exotics that modify their supers, and not receiving the full benefit of conduction times during Storm Trance was a little disheartening. So we added the benefit during the super's duration to alleviate that. Hey, you know what? Anything that makes anything that, like, these new exotics, and I said it not 5 minutes ago, but like anything that makes these new exotics feel like that you are OP to bring back that power fantasy is incredible. So more power to them.
So conduction times is arc ability kills increases the recharge rate of your arc abilities. So that
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the thing that I don't get is just the upkeep cost of Storm Trance.
Well, I'd say that means that if you're getting arc kills, which you are with Storm Trance, that for every kill you get, it will reduce the amount of, like, super
Cost.
energy cost that it takes for you to continue that super. That's the way I read it.
Oh,
I have
so
no idea whether that's what it
that's-
actually
yeah, okay.
means. Don't
That's what I
fucking quote
thought.
that
I just
and put it
gotta
on
do-
Reddit. But that's the way my brain
That
makes
makes
sense of it.
sense. That makes
the
sense.
second paragraph is, I think, what that's confirming. Like, warlocks don't have any exotics that modify their supers, and not receiving the full benefit of conduction times during storm trance was a little disheartening. So we added benefit during the super's duration to alleviate that. So I think that's right.
Basically, what we already confirmed here a long time ago, but is that Log and I are just like the punching. Matt has no idea because he's wrapped up around the lore. Moonvald, do you know? Do you get it?
No.
That's
I
all
also
right.
don't play shot clock, so I don't particularly
You can come back anytime.
feel like this is I don't know.
No, this is going to be our kills storm trance for longer. I think
that seems to make the most
makes
sense.
I mean,
makes sense.
I think it's one of those things that, like, I mean, it sounds horrifying when you're on the other side, when you're a Titan and you hear that described for PvP. But ultimately, I think the utility of it will be in PvE, where, you know, if you've got a huge lot of mob, like a huge lot of just mob enemies and you want to mop them up, you can do that with that super. And for every one that you kill, it'll effectively reduce or increase the amount of time you'll have the super active, right? Like, that's epic. That's like, I mean, I'm gonna do the unthinkable in a couple of weeks and roll a warlock just because I'm so excited about this support class warlock. But
dude, I'm gonna start a hunter and a titan. It's on my list to do. It's just both.
You don't play the game enough to even get to 385 on one character, let alone three.
I'm gonna ask people to carry me, Sloth. Come on, man.
I'll help you.
All right, so we've got.
You should have all
and then
three
we've
done
got-
by the time fucking Penumbra drops, whatever that is.
All right, so we've got moving forward into the Karnstein armlets. I have never ever seen any warlock wear this ever. Like even on Xbox,
can
where I
confirm.
started. Like legitimately. So removed melee hit effects, resilience, mobility, target highlighting.
Mm-hmm.
Melee kills now instantly heal you, then grant continuous healing for 8 seconds. In this iteration of Karnstein armlets, we've simplified the exotic to be about death and healing. Previously, the effect was split between hits and kills, providing inconsistent experiences, while the effect is much more basic now. You know what? That's a cool change. That is a, and I hate to use this term, but it's really the only term that I've got, but it is an OP change, and I like it. I really, really do.
So here's my thing, and I mean, Moon, have you used the sun braces since they got?
I actually haven't had a chance to, but I've seen people use them, and it's interesting to kind of see, you know, the sun singer aspect of having all those solar grenades and just chucking all of them. It's really cool.
Pretty much like it's pretty much radiance, solar grenade spam, solar flare spam. I think you can get like 4 or 5 depending if you already had a charge ready. Like it's pretty crazy. But here's my issue with it. You need like to proc it. You need a thrall, right? You need like a one-shot melee kill enemy, basically. So it does take a little bit of planning to like, okay, there's a boss there. I want to dump a whole bunch of grenades on him. Let me kill a small enemy, and then I can. Because if you can get that off, like it's a shit ton of damage. Like I don't know, like what 5 solar grenades does like on a boss. But like,
Is there like a time that you can only throw those 5 solar grenades?
Yeah. So it's time.
Yeah, it's
so you
just
get
a
a melee
perk that
kill.
procs.
Yeah, you get a melee kill, and then basically it's like Radiance from D1 Sunsinger, and it just you can throw a grenade, and just so your grenade energy just whoop, and just goes right back, and then you throw another grenade, and then there's just a slight pause between grenade shots.
Without it stacking, that actually seems like a pretty awesome sort of perk there.
Dude, the Sunbreakers, because it also extends the duration of the solar flare from memory as well. So you've got like I can imagine. Well, it used to. I can imagine that if you've got a boss, like a raid boss, like it'd be so good, you know, you kill a thrall and then you just throw like 5 solar grenades, right?
Yeah.
It's just like super crazy. when I was running just strikes and that, the opportunity to do that was not always there. If you're in a team, everyone shoots the little ads anyway. You just sort of steamroll everything. So like I wasn't able to proc it as like often as I want. And I agree, these ones look really cool, but I don't know how I'm gonna find like a spot for them over Lunafaction boots or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, and probably leastly, because again, this is another exotic I've not seen many people wear, but I mean, there you go. The Starfire Protocol. The Empowering Rift weapon damage now hits now grant fusion grenade energy 20%. Much as with the Lunafaction boots, we felt like giving a bonus to players who decide to go on the offense with Empowering Rift rather than playing it safe with Healing Rift. So, legitimately, to all the changes that we've seen thus far between the Titan and the Warlock,
This one's good.
I don't even.
Like
I wouldn't even. No, I don't like. Obviously, the choice is there.
Hits, not kills.
No. I know this, but it's like, why would you not use the sun braces over the Starfire Protocol?
Why would I use the sun braces over the stuff?
Like you were just saying there, like you hit it, hit a melee, and you get 5 solar grenades. You get 1 hit. I know you said 1 hit. But 1 hit and you get fusion 20% of fusion grenade energy. I don't know. I don't.
What's the timeout on that? Like,
I suppose
you
I
keep getting
just
hits, you just keep getting it back. I don't know. But chat's also informed me that the solar grenades don't stack with damage, which I had no idea that if you throw 5 grenades, you actually get the AOE of all of them. I did not know that.
Oh.
It's like what you were saying there before. Like, why use the Starfire Protocol when you can use other exotics out there? Now, I would like, before I go any further, I'm going to caveat this by saying that I'm going to wait until I see it in action before, saying, poo-poo to this. But, it's just poo-poo to this.
Poo-poo.
But it just doesn't read well for me.
Yeah, on paper it's not super enticing.
No, like even the Hunter stuff, like it read well, and it just doesn't read well to me. So obviously that may change when these are implemented into the game, but at this point in time,
I'm interested in Starfire Protocol. I'm interested to see how I'll definitely play around with it. I'll definitely play around with Crown of Tempters. I think that's going to be a go-to with Stormcallers in strikes. I think it's going to be hard to kick Lunafaction boots off the Guardian when you're going into a raid. I think that's always going to be like your DPS exotic, which is fine.
It doesn't read well. It doesn't read well, but these changes to all of the exotics thus far they're giving people more options to adapt their playstyle to how they like. Obviously, there's still going to be a meta. You could adjust the shit out of every weapon in the game to make it everybody happy, but there will be a meta that everyone gravitates towards. Of course, that's going to be the case. But these changes, they give people the option to go, well, hey, maybe this is something that I'm going to.
Well, I mean,
like something that I'm going to enjoy, or something that I'm going to use. So the option is there, whereas the option was there beforehand, but it wasn't very enticing.
Imagine like someone in chat just said, like, what about Starfire Protocol in PvP, right? You drop a rift, all you have to do is get hits, and you're gonna get your fusion grenade back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
True.
You're gonna have a fusion grenade like all the time.
You could hold down a point with not a point per se, but you could hold down an area with that. Like if people are on the attack and it's Iron Banner, if you can hit those shots and get those 5, 10, 15, 20 kills, that's 4 hits rather. That's 4 grenades straight off the bat, and that's okay. That's okay. It could sway me.
I want
to sway me.
Let's see.
I was
Let's
just
see.
gonna say that, like, Sloth, you need to roll a Warlock because you and Starfire Protocol have everything in common. Because
We're shit.
No.
We're shit until I actually hit my shots. Yeah.
No, because neither of you read well. Anyway.
I'm going.
Yay, it's my turn. I get to talk about my sorts of things instead of just waiting for this. Right. Sorry, Slothy. I just couldn't help it. I was sitting there giggling to myself the whole time. You kept saying it.
You're a fucking shit.
But I've endeavoured this week to put together a bit of a news wrap because there's so much news in so many different places with Destiny these days. Given that we're on the promotion trail for Forsaken and all that sort of stuff, that there's little tidbits that you can miss. There's little things that can slip through to Keeper, and I kind of just this is my summary for me because these are the things I found interesting. So. We're going to start with the Games Radar interview with Scott Taylor and Steve Cotton. That was probably 3 days ago now. But one of the biggest things I found coming out of this was that daily heroic missions will be making a return. Now, they're an important part of Destiny when you really think about it. Like Black Spindle was achieved through that. It gave us something to do every single day. Like as it stands, we're in this weekly rotation right now. I think having daily and there's things that allude to other frequency kind of events too. But the daily missions to come back, it gives us the ability to go in and retread some of the ground that we haven't seen since we played the campaign. A, and B.
Do you?
Sorry, go Moon. No, shoot.
I was gonna say you just mentioned Black Spindle. Are spoilers allowed on this podcast? I'm assuming yes.
Of course.
Didn't somebody find Black Spindle in the loot
Apparently.
table?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think
Apparently.
if it comes back in the future, we're gonna have to do another hive-based?
Well, that's if they're going to reintroduce it at any point, like that's the time to reintroduce
daily
it.
story
Right?
Heroic thing. That would be interesting.
It'd be a nice nostalgic nod, I think. I like that idea. But I mean, the other thing too is that we had the dubious volley that was the Wardcliffe coil or whatever that was in the database for a million years, and no one ever got it. So it's maybe it's there, maybe it's a placeholder, who knows? But it'd be a nice way to reintroduce daily missions, I think, if they could do something like that.
There you go.
Anyway. Right. The other thing that I really pulled out of this interview in particular was that Forsaken itself has a non-linear campaign structure. So instead of going through and following the sequence of events and what we've seen with Destiny 2 at least so far, it's not going to work like that. You'll basically come out of it with this kind of like a checklist of all of the big bads that you want to go and kill, which I'm assuming are the Barons that we're going to be hunting down in order to get to Aldrin. That opens the door to, I don't believe they're going to be locked behind, like progression milestones. Like as you see now, to get to a particular planet, you need to be this level. I would love to see them knock the doors off that and just let people, if they are brave enough, tackle this all straight off the bat. Like maybe there's some kind of indication in the mission before you start it, like this is the recommended level for taking on, old mate with the big headdress thing or whatever. I don't know their names, obviously. So I'm failing miserably at that. But I think
Max Mullen.
If you want to jump in and take on the hardest dude straight away, well, you're underleveled and it's going to be really difficult. I think that's great. I think
I completely agree. I really like the way that I think that is much more satisfying as a player to not be roadblocked by, hey, you can't access this to level 11, right? Because I just replayed some of the campaign. I was trying to complete my exotic collection, so I started a new character to get one of those guaranteed ones because I was missing Risk Runner, right? Yep. And it's so I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, like I can't just blitz through it and get there, or I can't get a buddy to help me out and do it right. To start an extra character, like it's much more rewarding to have that moment of going into an encounter and then realizing that you are way too underleveled for this, and that A, you either need someone to help you and carry you, or B, you need to go away and grind and then come back. I think that is one of the core mechanics of a MMO, RPG, whatever you want to brand Destiny as, is to get stronger and to feel more powerful. And then you feel like you've accomplished something when you come back and you can actually take them on.
Yeah.
And you kick their ass. I really like that. It's going to be interesting storytelling wise. I actually think this is the right direction for Destiny storytelling. I think the linear approach has not worked. So I'm interested to see how this plays out.
I think it works on like look at it this way. The way this expansion is being phrased and the way the characters are set up, with Aldrin working with this other group, and there's a few of them. I think it lends itself really well to that kind of setup. I don't think we could have ever done it in previous expansions where it wasn't quite this way. Like, you need to be able to go, okay, I need to go out and achieve these objectives to then progress. I think there's there are good stories to be told in linear campaigns, but I think this, more than anything, would just be a really fresh change, and the ability to just make the decision yourself rather than being, have your handhold through it all. I think will, it'll give a very different vibe, and I'm really looking forward to sinking my teeth into it. But
yeah, I agree, and I think I do think it opens. I think it's like that. I know when people hate when they use Dark Souls as an example, but it opens like a more of a Dark Souls type of storytelling where it's like, when you go into an area and you underleveled, you take in a lot more of the environment. Like, because if you're getting like one shot, but I always go back to like my feelings of like the alpha and the beta. And I remember like trying to get into the Hellmouth and like run past like, red bars that, you just couldn't do damage to. And I remember like in that environment, you just that atmosphere becomes so much more intense. You just take in everything. You're like, oh my God, there's a tunnel here, there's a passage here. And like, when you're like too overpowered, you don't take in some of the environmental cues of like storytelling, and you don't get the impression of like who the Hive are and all this kind of stuff. So it'd be cool like to have an environment that that you're not allowed to go into yet, or that you shouldn't go into yet, and going in there and like exploring and finding spots where you can survive and whatever. And like, I think that would be really interesting to see, and I think really interesting to see how there might be more environmental storytelling if that's something that they're going to introduce.
I just like the idea of being able to go into an area. Sorry, Moon. Shoot.
I'm sorry.
No,
I remember in D1 when I first started playing, and I got to Venus, and my friend was hanging out with me, the one that got me into the game in the first place. And I was really, really small baby guardian, and go over near the Vault of Glass, and there was the Praetorians there, and they had like question marks where their level should be, and they just one-shot you. And I look at my friend,
yeah,
what the hell is that?
What is that?
You shouldn't be over here. You can't be over here. And I was like, but why? So I really wanted to know. And I feel like players, when they can experience that sort of thing, they learn better and enjoy it more, like you were saying. So
I think the other thing that comes out of it is that ability to be in a space and be like, I really have no business being here, but there's this one thing here that I want. And if I run through fast enough, I might be able to get there and get it. And it gives you that like, oh shit, just gotta run. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna try and hide from the boss. And that's not really Destiny. Destiny is just all right, we all load in and kick the shit out of this thing together and move on. Well, but there's no saying that it can't be Destiny. There's sneaky players aren't gonna have, if you're the sneakiest little hunter of them all, there may well be a valid play style in that.
The thing that I like about this is this suits the tone that they've already started describing for Forsaken. Like this, this suits the tone of like consequence, right? Yeah. There's consequence for you exploring areas that you're not meant to be in yet, because you're just going to get messed up. And like, they spoke about like, how do you give consequence to guardians who are immortal? Like there's like a paradox there.
It's a hard ask
within the foundation. That's like, how do we make it feel that there's consequences, and how do you make it feel rewarding when you just don't die and there's no consequence for dying? And I think something like this, I don't know, I already feel like it's meshing together that tone as well. Because like, if you've got a really dark tone, you want to be scared, you want to be like underpowered, you want to feel like you need to reach a level where you can, take out these guys.
That, and I think the motivating factor of having your ass handed to you the first time you encounter something, and then come back and just lay waste to it. I think that in itself is a little bit of the power fantasy that we want, right? That whole I'm going to come back and get you, right?
And in regards to what you were saying there before, Matt, in the comparison to Dark Souls, is that when you encounter a new boss in Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Demon Souls or something like that, you expect to be smeared across the back wall like jam on a piece of toast. So that is the best thing about it, is if you go into a new area and you are severely underleveled or even a tad underleveled, if you go a little bit over the top, if you like get a little bit too cocky, you know, you'll be smeared along the back wall like a piece of jam on a piece of toast, and that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Legitimately, it's such a nice change.
All right, moving on. We've got a bit to get through here. Come on, I'm trying to crack the whip, get everyone back in line. The milestone system will be upgraded, see a bit of a rejig, and there will be more rotation in activities on varying timescales. Now, there's no real information about this, but this touches on what I was saying earlier in the daily, with respect to the daily missions, that there's going to be other activities that maybe aren't on a weekly rotation, but are on a shorter term rotation that, are other things to dive into. What they are, I have no idea. But I think that, the more variety we can get in there, the better. The design philosophy of the Dreaming City reflects a heavy focus on endgame replayability to return the hobby to Destiny. Now, that's one hell of a sentence. But what basically I understand this to be is like, well, they're saying that it's thematically tied to the story, but not part of the campaign space. It houses public events and secrets, and it's a place for groups and solo players. So it's basically like another patrol zone that is totally dedicated to the endgame, that whether you're going there to do the raid or not has things to offer. Now, the way they're making it sound like a cross between the Dreadnought and a Vault of Glass and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be the sort of place where, like, the ability to get in there by yourself and just have a look around. Maybe you're going to be incapable of taking down, the big enemies that are roaming the area or what. But to get in there and explore, and there's, they're hyping up the fact that there's secrets and stuff to be found in here. I think that's great. I think it adds a layer of depth to a location. We've not seen this before, so I think that there's a lot of value to get out of it.
I like it, eh? I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I would just leave that. I was going to say something more, but that's perfect. I like it a lot.
Right. With respect to the Solar Warlock support super, Steve Cotton said the intention is to give each class a support subclass. So we kind of already have the other two. We've got the Void Bubble Titan. Well, hopefully we see we bring that back in, to a stronger position. And what's the bloody bow called on the Hunter? Night Stalker. Sorry. Yeah, I just had a complete mental blank there. But, I hope that we do see those expounded upon. I mean, we've already seen what the new Void Super is, the Stabby McStab. That looks great. But Scott Taylor touched on something that I haven't seen spoken about at all yet. No one's... I expect there to be... I honestly read this sentence and then jumped on Reddit expecting there to be outrage.
This has been said.
Been said?
It has been said.
That the Void Hunter can see through fucking walls.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And you can go invis. So get with that.
So you're fucking Batman.
Look with their special eyes.
You are literally Batman.
You know what?
I retract feeling sorry for them about their exotics. They don't need this shit.
Yeah, the reason why they don't need exotics is because they're already OP.
That, and we're going to see the permanent rumbles and 6v6 quick play before Forsaken. So they're going to be rolled out with that. I think it'll be a timely thing to add to the pool. Now moving into Lars Barken's critical hit interview. These are just a couple of little things that, like motivating factors for characters and the philosophy of the Dreaming City. But he says, the funny thing about Aldrin is that if you were to talk to him, he would say that he thinks what he's doing is that he's correct, right? Like, from his perspective, killing Cade, meeting up with the Barons and going out and doing what he's doing, he believes he's on the side of right. And that's what makes him such a complex and interesting villain. Now, we've made no secret of the fact that we think that this is a great move on the part of, developing this villain to be, a loathsome character. But when you sort of say that, what justification can he have? I mean, we all know that like it's not going to be you're a fuckwit and you got my sister killed and now I'm going to come and shoot you. There's got to be more. You know, I'm going to kill you.
You're a fuckwit.
Like, yeah, you're a fuckwit. But, you know, like that's what I'm getting at. There has to be some greater purpose to this because everyone knows revenge is bad. And he believes, honestly, if he's saying that he genuinely believes he's on the side of right, then there has to be a greater justification. Now, I have no idea what that is. I just sort of throw that in there as a point of discussion. But I don't know. I mean, I think that there's going to be some... You're a fuckwit, Aldrin. Yeah, well, I mean, if he says that, like, I doubt it.
I mean, I don't know. I am like a huge Tarantino fan, so anything that's like strictly bloody, brutal, gory revenge is like a story that I can 100% get invested in.
Yeah.
But Aldrin has like always hated Guardians, hasn't he?
Well, I mean, if you think back to Destiny 1 as that he had everyone. As soon as we showed up in the reef, there were ships on us. There were rifles trained on us. There were blades ready to, slit pieces off us and all that sort of thing. He's never been one to love the Guardians as a whole, or love the Vanguard as a whole. It's a means to an end. He was using us to a means to an end, and I believe that he feels justified in taking out one of the Vanguard because of the loss of his sister during the start of the Taken King. Like, he's absolutely got as much as I hate to say it, he's got a valid reason to hate the Vanguard because his people got massacred. He lost his sister. He's very muchly like it's thank you, Nara, and it's an eye for an eye type of situation, isn't it?
No, I don't know if I agree with that motivation. Like, and by the way, I don't know. See, people keep saying, "Oh, but Marlon, you can't talk about this because you know everything." I'm not obviously going to talk about anything I do know. So anything that comes out of my mouth is pure speculation, theory, or whatever. So I think the Awoken are like one of the most interesting race in Destiny because, well, actually, XS is pretty cool too. But the creation of the Awoken, their powers, the Queen's plan. There's heaps of Grimoire cards like about the Queen and their plan on attacking the Dreadnought, and it was all part of the plan. Like, we still haven't had that explained yet. We do not know what was part of the plan, and she met with her Techians, the Coven, and the Tech Witches, essentially going on the Grimoire card starts on the eve of war, right? They knew they were going to take losses. The Queen, I don't know. I'm not behind the eye for an eye thing. The Queen did whatever she did on purpose.
But did she do it for the Vanguard, or did she do it for her own personal beliefs?
If you look at House of Wolves, they already made that decision to defend the city in House of Wolves. They decided to reveal themselves to track scholars. But once again, you could ask the same question. Did she do it for us, or was there alternative motives? So I think there's so much rope to play with when it comes to Aldrin's motives. He is, and the thing about Aldrin, the other cool thing about Aldrin is, if you read the cards about him, he doesn't agree with. Well, he often disagrees with his sister. Okay, they disagree on like the Prince Aldrin actual card is like he disagrees on key strategies with his sister, and we don't know if that makes him a key asset or if that makes him a bit of a nuisance. And also, he was born into a matriarchal society. So, we haven't really spoken about the Reef, but they're mostly female. The Vestian, the Paladins are female.
Matt, are you trying to make me feel sorry for a dude who lives in a society that is like the exact opposite of a sausage fest? Because I'm just not going to.
Are you going to make me feel sorry for a post-apocalyptic world where you live only amongst females in space?
Wow, that sounds fucked. I'd definitely kill everyone's favorite character if that was my life. All right.
This is like what's the like no spoilers because I still haven't seen it, but Therasia or Therasia from Wonder Woman. Like would you be upset? Would you be upset if you got stranded there and you were the only dude between like a bunch of Amazonian supermodel women, like legitimately?
I would have resisted like ever going home. Like that was the least believable part of that whole fucking movie was that old mate left that island. Not the magic and the superpowers and the all sorts of shit but yeah, anyway.
I need to go home back to my family.
I'm all of a sudden really distracted. On to the Dreaming City. Holy shit, Log, focus. So Lars said, it's the first time I've ever made a destination that's specifically built around the end game. So not only does the raid happen there, the raid is sort of your introduction to the Dreaming City and everything builds off that. The other really cool thing about the Dreaming City is that over time, it will change. It'll be doing some things that players won't expect and won't even know to look forward to. So my question out of this is, if the raid is our introduction to the Dreaming City, do we expect that we're going to see something similar into the current raid layers that we...
layers.
Do we think we're going to see that system again? Like, because, I mean, if the raid's our introduction, but it's meant to be the be all end all, right? Do we need to rethink our philosophy here a little bit, or is it just like it's our first real reason to go there? You can take it two ways.
Firstly, I love that, because a really big part of the feedback from the summit and from the community in general and everyone who sort of participated in the survey was like continuity between campaign and raid. And we know Bungie has tried a number of different ways of doing that and different ways of telling stories in campaign, different ways of telling stories in raids. And in the end, a lot of people kept referencing back to Taken King, and they liked the idea of something continuing from campaign into endgame. And, from everything we've heard so far, that it's cool, man. It's cool to be like, to see that continuity there from campaign to endgame, and that things are going to keep changing and keep happening in that space, because I don't know, I think that would be I would be really interested to see the raid completion numbers, or at least raid attempts, having this space, if that entices people to want to explore this world more and reach out to become part of a clan or part of a community to get into this space. Like, I'm interested to see if that's going to be a nice sort of reward for people to maybe bump up some of the numbers for raid completions, or at least attempts.
I hope so, man, because like it's one of those things. It's the cheesy throwaway line, but it's the friend game. That's what it's all about. If you can find yourself in a clan, I'm really hoping that this enables people to do that, or at least encourages people to do that, without it being pejorative. That if you're not part of a bigger group, that you're not going to be able to get anything out of this space. I think they're hedging their bets a little bit. So it's, for me, I can't wait, man. I'm so fucking... I keep looking at the calendar and going, oh my God, it's still months away, and it's ruining me. It's killing me. But what we're going to do what we do every week, and we're going to open up the chat. So if you've got any questions and stuff like that, please feel free to start throwing them in there now. But dudes... Dudette, sorry.
Dude.
That's my takeaway from it. I really am really interested to see how this pans out. We've lost Moon.
Moon, come back. That wasn't an exit. She's like, okay, see you, bye.
You can blame it all on me.
I'm going to bring up the thing. Good.
Everyone is excited to see what's coming with Forsaken. Now, one thing that I do want to sort of slightly touch on is that E3 recently happened, and a lot of people are really excited for certain titles and all that sort of thing. So, gents, what actually caught your attention? While we wait for some questions to crop up in the chat, what legitimately caught your attention from E3?
Doom.
Doom. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I haven't gone and educated myself all that strenuously about these things, but honestly, my few little takeaway points was like, I love Doom, so Doom, but also kind of learning more about Anthem and I'm the kind of person who's can be really argumentative with things and kind of like, no, I play Destiny and it's like Destiny, therefore I don't like it. But hearing that they've come out and said, look, it's solely a PvE game, it's about teamwork and all that sort of stuff, it did kind of change my perspective on it. So I'm interested to learn more about Anthem and what it's about, and I guess it opened my eyes to it a little bit. I don't know why that changed my perception of it, but it did. That's I am interested more now than I was. I don't know, Matt. What did you pick
Oh,
up
mate.
on?
Last of Us 2, okay, so Last of Us is my favorite game of all time. I started playing that again last night with Danny because Danny hasn't played it.
Yep.
And literally the first 5 minutes, she's like, I don't like playing this game. It's going to make me sad. If you know the beginning of Last of Us, it's pretty fucking intense. Last of Us 2 looks insane if it meets those kind of combat mechanics. And the other thing with Last of Us is many people, and including myself, never got into multiplayer. And it was like this hidden gem. The multiplayer in Last of Us is dope. It is actually really, really fun. And people found the campaign so rewarding. They didn't even touch multiplayer. And then months later, people were like, guys, are you playing multiplayer? It's really good. And fun fact, the Last of Us multiplayer was my very first YouTube video that I ever made because it was just before Destiny came out. So
still overrated.
No.
Yep.
Let's not get no.
I totally forgot about Cyberpunk as well.
We have
and the From Software game, the Shadows Die Twice, and the other Samurai game. The other Samurai game that looks really cool as well.
So we have a question from Nem Plays. Thank you for the question. How do you think Savathun will be introduced into the game, or do you think she will be introduced in Destiny 3? Matthew, this is probably your part and parcel in that.
I don't know. There's been obviously heaps of hints of Savathun returning, and that's where Eris has gone off and running to, and there's plenty of potential for her to be how they're going to reintroduce her. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. A second question from them. Since Nokris specializes in immortality, do you think we're going to see him again? I would hope he has an Ascendant Realm.
Yes. I was sort of looking into this recently, if he would have made an Ascendant Realm. Because I was reading the Book of Sorrows, right? And when Oryx actually created his Ascendant Realm or his throne world. And it was created from his own will on his first death. And then it was navigated on subsequent deaths, which he then decided to make it a throne world and sort of claim that space. I think the whole Ascendant Realm and throne worlds are probably more complicated than people give them credit for. And I think once people sort of knew a bit more information about throne worlds, I think everyone just assumed they have a throne world. I actually started writing a script about the worm gods and whether Zol would actually have a throne world. Because if you think back to
he has no arms. He can't use a sword. Welcome back to Moonvald.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right, mate.
You got DDoSed. That's fine. Hackers.
I'm on a mobile hotspot right now. It might sound atrocious. I don't know.
Sounds fine.
You're fine.
Okay, good.
Right.
We're Australian. We're used to things being awful on the internet.
Well, that's fair.
So another question from a big man with Big Mac. Oh, I'm so hungry. Thank you for the question. I've heard that recently that there were a few mentions somewhere. I think a random enemy in the world referencing Zivu Arath. You think we could have a double baddie DLC?
No.
With both sisters coming through?
No.
No. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because they get these are the fundamental characters that they're going to start building towards as tackling for the franchise, right? Basically, the biggest big bad isn't fucking Callus or Gaul or any of them, our enemy is always going to be the Hive. The real most closest to the darkness enemy. Now that the darkness is a thing again, is it? If it's not, even no. But I can't see them throwing away such things. Like I think that we're going to see Nokris reintroduced through this coming story arc of Forsaken, because why are the Fallen resurrected? He resurrects shit. I don't know. I think we're going to see that. But I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where they're trying to wrap up things that quickly that we're going to face both remaining Hive gods in one DLC. I think it's unlikely.
Such an important question has cropped. Sorry, go on, Matt.
Are you going to read How Does a Black Garden Work?
No. Such an important question. What is your beard care regimen and what is your position on man buns, Matthew, Mylan Games?
Yeah, this is the good stuff when we don't even talk about Destiny.
I saw you. Did you have like a wooden or bone comb that you were combing your beard with before the cast? Is that what I saw?
He has to keep it on hand at all times. Is he?
My beard. Mm-hmm.
Who made it? We'll see if we can get you an endorsement.
Oh, there you
go. So a question from Tyrus12. Thank you for the question. A question for the dude in the top left interested in Anthem. Log, what javelin are you looking forward to playing?
I like I'm going to be completely rude about this, but I like the Warlocky one. I'm just going to use it in. I don't even know what they're called. I
like the Storm. The Storm.
Yeah, I
javelin?
like it. I kind of like it.
Called.
I kind of like that one.
Yeah,
I don't know why,
fair.
but I do. I mean, maybe it's just my inner Titan is just going through some shit, and I'll probably just pick the biggest, chunkiest one by the time it comes out. But at the moment, that's the one that piques my interest most. Yeah,
fair enough. I'll tell you what, apparently you start off with the Ranger, which is like the in-betweeny one.
Yeah.
You know what? I can see myself using the Ranger a lot more because the gameplay to me seems like, in regards to Anthem, it seems like very open. It seems very open and like you've got to be moving a lot. The heavy, I can't remember what they called the heavy, but I'm just going to call it the heavy. The heavy javelin. It seems like, yeah, it's definitely the firepower of the group, but like I like being able to move and shoot. I like that sort of gameplay. I like that sort of style. So it's that's probably going to be my thing in regards to Anthem. Moonvald, you missed a question because your internet took an Australian. But
your internet went down under.
Did you see anything from E3 that really grabbed your attention?
Death Stranding is really interesting to me because I love the way it looks. Again, this is just, I'm so shallow. This is why I've got into video games in the first place. But like that kind of super creepy, weird, just I have no idea what the fuck that was. Like, oh, that appeals to me so much. So Death Stranding.
Is it just a Norman Reedus thing? Because that's basically like I kept seeing pictures of it and I'm like, why is fucking Daryl from The Walking Dead in this game?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Walking Dead fan, so but like,
what I've never seen The Walking
freaky.
Dead. I know who he is and all that sort of thing, but Death Stranding is. I've said this on my cast a few times, but Hideo Kojima games, I know that a lot of people love them, and that's cool. You love what you love and all that sort of
Sloth's
thing.
Sloth's going to bring the wrath of the internet down upon us all.
No. It's just that I don't understand them. I like my games to be to have a little bit of intrigue and a little bit of mystery and all that sort of thing. But Hideo Kojima games, they just don't do it for me. They really don't.
That's fair. I think that's fair. But like them or not, you have to agree that Kojima is living his best life right now.
Oh my god! Since he got away from Konami,
it's so funny to me.
Since he got away from Konami, I'm so excited to see what he does. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Anyway,
he's living the end game for a game developer, right? Like his name is basically synonymous with fanboys and quality, right? Like you can't get a better deal than that. So I don't know.
I'm also excited for The
check it
Last
out,
of Us
but-
2.
True.
The
Last of Us 2.
Oh,
Yep. The
I
combat
just,
looks great.
I still like, again, I'm probably going to cop so much shit for this, but The Last of Us, at least for me, was overrated. I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Who is this man?
It was like it's like a David Cage game. It was just not. It was a lot of like emotions, but that was it.
All right.
I don't know.
Let's move on.
I mean, it's okay
Yeah.
to be wrong. You know,
It's okay
fine.
to be okay.
Hey,
Before Matt cringes into his own throne world.
you are Marlon. Your throne world was created from your own cringe.
It's just where you
Holy
retreat
shit.
in and just sit. Yeah.
So,
Oh.
A question from on-screen Loki. Welcome. Thank you for the question. Is that do you guys think? Do you guys know or think that there is a reason why we never saw anything of more of the proto-Siva nanites from pre-ROI or even Siva itself? As far as I can recall, it's still around, but I feel if there was anywhere we could have seen it, it would have been a Clovis Bray facility.
This is really cool. I like that was brought up because not many people like dived into that lore when it came about. They just probably saw the effects of the ARG and how that was released. But technically, we never cured ourselves of that proto-Siva. So we still have like Siva mites floating around at us from. We just sort of suppressed it because from all the Owl sector work. Yeah, if you were infected during that time, you still technically, from my understanding, is you still technically are infected with Siva prototypes. It was never cured because we discovered suppression from Willa Bray's work in the Clovis Bray facility. So, and was it freaking her? Or was it someone else? Another researcher. Anyway, the patient notes were inconclusive. Like they couldn't cure it. Like once they had introduced Siva mites, they couldn't get rid of them. So
Keep going to the doctor. Keep it under control. You know, it's like everything else. Just
if you're still seeing the symptoms, keep taking your medications,
Yes.
motherfucker.
and don't stop just because symptoms abate. Right? See out the full course.
But I mean, it's cool to see Owl Sector back. I mean, Carmen is introduced as Owl Sector. So and you know, Owl Sectors are, for what we know, civilians, and they sort of added a bit more mystery around them with, Anna Bray sort of saying to Carmen in the comic book, oh, you're not going to tell me you're Owl Sector. It's a little bit like a secret agency, right? So that's sort of cool. Little tidbit about Owl Sector that Carmen Bray was in there during the earlier stages, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me personally, like the Taken King had some of the best story in Destiny thus far, but I think the best part of D1, like the DLC that I actually, or the story that I actually had the most fun with, was the Siva DLC, and I actually really, really enjoyed it, and I'd love to see it come back. I'd love to see Owl Sector make more of a return. Like obviously it hasn't gone anywhere, but I'd like to see it make more of a return. So, you know, I like that they've sort of kept that around. I
want to backtrack to a previous question because I don't think I'll ever have opportunity to say this again in the presence of our Lord and Savior.
Oh, here you go.
That the question was, how does the Black Garden work, right? And look, I want to bitch. I don't know if this is how it was intended, but from my readings of the Black Garden, which I'd love to see coming through, is Korea, Quria, Blade Transform.
North or
Korea.
south? North or south?
Korea.
Curia.
Was a Vex mind that encountered Oryx and never introduced the worm larvae into their mind fluid, but started a religious sect of the Vex to worship it, which sounds terribly like the Black Garden. And I've always suspected that that was the origin of the Black Garden.
And
And
how does
potentially
it
the
work?
hub of the
That was the question. Come on, Matt. You
Well,
gotta
I
get
didn't
the
know
sack.
how it works. I just
You
you didn't answer the question. Oh, well, I don't know how it works. All right?
You know what?
Very slowly, just
Listen.
like the rest of us.
So a question from another question from Tyrus12. Thank you very much. Something I've always wondered. Early in D2's beginning, if I remember, they stated that the Guardians we play as now are the same Guardians we played as in D1. Have they changed that? If not, then what has our Guardian been doing since then, and will they ever be tying it into the story? So
And you will leave.
No, on PlayStation and on the console versions of Destiny, the characters are transferred over. So if you play D1, on your Titan per se, on Xbox, and then you went to D2 and all that sort of thing, it was you had your Titan, your Guardian, knew about the backstory. It knew about all that sort of thing. It based your experiences that you had in D1 as written into the story of D2.
Yeah.
If you went on to...
There were different dialogues for...
Yeah, there are different dialogue options for D2. So, like, if you started a new character on PC, yeah, like, you didn't know who Lord Salad Bowl was. You didn't know...
Well, some of them were inconsistent, right? Like,
Very
it was obvious that, like, Lord Saladin should have had different dialogues with veteran players because there were other transcripts that were different from veterans. So it's like, it sort of started off that way, but didn't necessarily go all the way through.
Yeah. So again, if you started a fresh character in D2, then you wouldn't have that that backstory, that knowledge of the darkness or the Taken or blah 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 blah. But yeah, anyway,
Saladin united me.
Like Shaxx at the very start of D2. Shaxx at the very start of D2. If you played Rise of Iron, he goes, "Hello, young wolf." Blah blah blah. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but hello, young wolf. Come and help these civilians get to the chopper and all that sort of thing. You know, like
What are you even remembering?
I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the freaking goddamn.
Oh, preparation. Oh man, we're doing the thing again where we just keep talking and we don't give Moon
We are
an opportunity to talk. I'm sitting here like I feel bad about this, but if I
No.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make, is that if you're playing on a different platform, then your character hasn't rolled over. So, you know, you don't have that veteran player status, but you also don't have Seaver Mites either. So, you know, you got a clean bill of health.
There you go.
I recently started playing on Xbox and going through the story missions, and you come up on the Taken on IO, and your Guardian's just like, what is that? Or your Ghost says that. It's just like,
legitimately, that's kind of that's the thing. Like, I would have loved to see, and I know this is already like trying to put this or bring this back to character to players now it'd be nice, but it's not something that they need. Is that I would have loved to see that if you played on console, you could import your character's memories or blah 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 into your PC character. Well, like a cross save, cross-platform. Again, we're dipping into stuff that is not something that has to do with Bungie. That has to do with the wider gaming industry and the publishers and and all that sort of thing. So
it's a lot more bureaucratic than.
Oh yeah. But we are going to call it there because, well, I mean, it's probably very, very late for you, Moon.
I never sleep. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
Well, I mean,
also a vampire.
It's a 24-hour podcast. Let's do it. No, but
I'm gonna go to the
Moonvald,
pub.
thank you very much.
Thank you for
thank
having
you
me. I had a
very-
great time. I'm sorry again
Yeah.
about my internet. It's whatever, but
That's fine. It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're Australian. We deal with it all the time. But, well, you know what? Let's take one more question because, I mean, it's nice to take questions. But so, from our Lord and Savior Oryx BNG, what are your favourite and least favourite destinations in D1 and D2? Moon, why don't you take the lead on this question?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I really like the EDZ.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain because I really like the sort of naturey southwestern Europe feel, where it's just big, big forests, and then the dark forest, I think specifically, is my most favorite area because I'm into that like sort of spooky, witchy kind of aesthetic. And getting to hang out in there, especially when you do like your subclass missions, and it feels like it kind of has that supernatural feel to it. That's really fun. I also like Nessus because Nessus is beautiful and really complex, I guess you could say. But the EDZ for sure is my favorite.
And your least favorite?
My least favorite? I don't know. I don't like Titan, but that's only because it's small.
Because it's called Titan.
Because it's called Titan.
It's called
God
Titan.
damn it.
If it was called Warlock, it'd be the best place in the game, right?
I feel like, and too, I like the arcology, but I feel like if Titan was a little bit bigger and more complex, I would enjoy it more.
I suppose, I mean, that really that you've inadvertently touched on it. There are areas in D2 that you visit once and you never visit again, which is it's kind of frustrating to see, to be honest, because there's such beautiful areas. The arcology is incredible.
Yeah,
that touches
the
on
arcology is actually really cool.
It touches really strongly on what I was going to say for the favorite place that I went through the course of Destiny 2 so far. Is being on board the Almighty. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me throwing back to being like, it is like very Halo-ish and all of that. And part of it feels like that. Get in and destroy the friggin' big thing and then piss off. But like,
somebody
I'm
in
kind
chat
of bummed
said Mercury is their least favorite place too. Which I kind of, from a patrol standpoint, yes, Mercury is not very fun. You can't drive your Sparrow around. It's really tiny. Past Mercury, one of the most beautiful places in the game. Oh, and if I could go there freely, I would really, really appreciate that. Because I just want to go in there and look around, and it's so cool. It's gorgeous.
This is a hard question. There's a lot of things that go into like I never really thought about the environments and what I like or don't like about them, and there's so many bits and bobs in it. So Sloth, I mean, like, what did you say your favorite place was? One?
The Almighty. I mean, like now I want to change it to be like past, Mars or whatever. But like, there's so many. But I think I'm not coming from coming at it from an aesthetic point of view, right? I'm coming at it from like the feeling of being in that place. Like it was a high stakes place. There was so much going on. Destroying this massive ship that you're basically on and all that sort of stuff. So from that, I guess it's probably not the answer to the question that was asked, but that was the favorite place that I ended up. I guess it's not really a destination. My least favorite, I'd kind of have to mirror the Titan. And because, well, it's one of those places. It's bigger when you're there than you realize. Like where the patrol zones are and the way that it's set up and in the public events, you never really get into that arcology sort of zone. And I'm not sure whether that was by intention or not or what, but I like that area. But I mean, it's probably, I don't dislike going to Titan, but it gives me the negativist thing, if that makes sense.
I think my least favorite is probably IO, and I say IO because I just don't think it reaches potential for what that space is.
Like how sacred it is and how...
Yeah, I feel like I really wanted to learn more about... I was so invested to learn more about that space and didn't quite get it. And I was like, well... And there's so many like little weird things going on in IO. Like, what are these bones? What's happening here? What is this about? Why is this a sacred place for warlocks? And like all these questions that are just they weren't explored. So I think that's probably my least favorite place because I really wanted to get answers. I think that for me just sort of trumps it a little bit above Titan for that reason.
Yeah.
I think the reason that I disagree is because I like going to IO because it has a different design philosophy. Like it's so vertical, where all of the other patrol zones are like these big blobs that are laid out and all of that. I've always found that going to IO, and I mean, especially being a striker titan, because it means you can slam down from God knows how high up and all that sort of stuff. But I've found I like that because it's a change.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's all greens and browns probably doesn't help people's impression of it because it's a bit dull in that respect. But I think, I mean, from Matt coming at it from a lore and storytelling perspective, how fitting.
I love going to IO and doing the public event with the Thresher in wherever Asher is. I can't remember the exact area.
Yeah.
You can, if you have Golden Gun, you can like go all the way up to the top of the Pyramidion. Like there's those little stairs, and you can shoot the ship from all the way back there, and it's ridiculous. But I enjoy doing it. So
my least favorite is D2. My least favorite area is D2, and I was going to say IO, but no. My least favorite area in D2 is the Infinite Forest and Mercury. It's so very underutilized. It's a very underutilized area. Like the Infinite Forest could have been so much more. It could have been like the public event is fun, but the Mercury is just. It's bland. It looks
just not a lot
beautiful.
to it.
Yeah,
it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The art designers are absolutely incredible there, but the Infinite Forest could have been utilized so much better. It could have been utilized so very very muchly better.
Muchly
better.
It's just
what's your favorite one, Sloth?
The Plaguelands.
Okay.
The Plaguelands from
so
the
Cosmodrome Seaver fight.
Yeah. So we can include D1 stuff too, huh?
Yeah, like it was.
Yeah, including D1.
It could have been the Plaguelands were just it was good. It gave this area. It gave this air of and I'm sure this is what they were going for, but it actually felt like there was a war. Like it felt like a war zone. It felt like a war zone. It wasn't just spots of enemies, and that's not a bad thing. But it didn't just feel like spots of enemies just randomly placed around the map. It actually felt like a war zone to me.
See, for me, I think atmosphere-wise has to be the moon and the Hellmouth. Like that place, when you first look upon the Hellmouth, basically Hive burrowing into the moon, and you start to explore the tunnels. That to me is like, you know, the origins of the Hive from our perspective anyway, from our first encounter of them sort of discovering these aliens on the moon, I think and I just love that environment and that sort of atmosphere from it being real dark and twisting tunnels and that kind of thing. But I also a really big fan of Mercury, not D2 Mercury, but D1 Mercury and the Reef. The Reef because I love that color palette and I love that the potential for that a little bit more fantasy, and it's why I'm really excited to see what they do with the
Awoken.
We've had a very probably on a scale from like scientific to fantasy, and I think we're probably being a little bit more closer to sort of sci-fi or just the scientific side of stuff. I'm really keen to see like more of the fantasy parts come through, and I hope we sort of see that in the Awoken homeland. And I just fucking. Man, I'm a sucker for that. Like colors, man. Purples. Purples.
You mentioned Mercury too, and when you go to God, there's few feelings.
The first time to go for the lighthouse, there's a lot of feelings.
It's so magical feeling with the chimes and just the sun. It's like there's something about it that is. It just feels like magic.
Whimsical.
And it is whimsical. Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love the lighthouse one.
Right. Thank you for the questions, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. And Moonvald, thank you very much for coming on, even though Log, fucked up somewhere along the lines, along the way.
It's all good.
But thank you very much. So what do you have any plans, if any at all, for this coming week content-wise or anything at all, Moonvald, or are you just chilling, doing the thing?
Nope, we're just chugging along over at Planet Destiny. Again, I know I'm getting ready for Guardian Con. I'm gonna kind of ramp up for that. But we're streaming almost every day of the week now. We put out our reset stuff, so
yeah,
we're just keeping it kind of low key. We're working on it.
Keeping on.
And thank you very much for coming on. Like, if there's one thing that we do is talk, and I mean talk, and thank you for putting up with that. So
no, it's okay. That's what you're supposed to do.
I think we might have set a bit of a record here for the longest episode ever.
Yeah.
I just looked at the clock. I'm like, fuck.
Maddie, what do you got planned for this week at all? Like, you've got a stream tomorrow with Danny, I'm guessing.
I've been trying to do that, but I've been really tired on Sunday. So I would like to start a new character on stream. I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll see. I think I would like to do that regardless in whatever time I have to start a new character and do the normal sort of daily milestone or weekly milestones and just get. I'm pretty close to 3 out of 5 now, so it's a good time to sort of knock that on the head and then start. I would like to start preparing characters for Forsaken. I really want to have all 3 classes for Forsaken to test out all the new subclasses. So I think that's on my to-do list, and then just the usual, man.
Log, what have you got planned, if anything, this week, my man?
Tonight I'm going to the pub. Yeah, I'm going to the pub. I might stream tomorrow night if I don't burn all my brownie points tonight by going to the pub. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm not sure if my better half's in chat, but I'm sure something will be thrown at the back of my head very soon if she is. But yeah, just the same. Just keeping on with the Tuesday and Thursday kind of grind, and I've got a Monday off, so I'll be hanging and trying to check out as many streams as I can too. So if you're out there and you're going to be streaming on Sunday US time, just let me know and I'll swing past. So rock and roll. Right. That's my plan. I have no form.
Finally, before we go, Oryx BNG, the savior of us all, has dropped a little tidbit in chat that Forsaken comes with a boost to levels and all that sort of thing. So
that was like, when did they release that? Was that the Taken? Was it Taken King? They put something like that in?
Yeah, Spark of Light. Yeah, TT.
Spark of Light. Yeah.
So character level boost and all that sort of thing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching live on Twitch, thank you very much for hanging out. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for checking it out. We absolutely appreciate a like. And if you're not subbed, hit that subscribe and that bell button so you know when we upload. If you have any sort of questions, queries, doubtful points, make sure you put them in the comments below.
Or the Discord. Get in the Discord. You can get a hold of us in the Discord.
Yeah, if you want to chuck anything into the Discord, make sure you do that. If you are on our audio-only platforms, thank you very much for listening. You guys are really incredible. Thank you very much for just your patronage and letting us speak a whole lot of bollocks for 2 hours. So thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, Matt, have we officially retired the creepy goodbye? Can I take that off the road?
Mate, I don't know if I'm coming. I don't know if I'm coming or going. Look, the lore has not only found you. It's. I had lots of different things like, no, that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate.
Yeah, I think we'll settle with the lore is coming up behind you in a dark alley. You better be worried. So moving on from that, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And Moon, we'll see you around the traps.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Bye. Oh, yeah, hang on. Stand by for a raid. We're going to go visit a friend of ours that we also visited last week. It's Jay.
Oh, okay.
Right, bye.